Hello and welcome to another Mr. Beats Bike video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as we're looking at a Sony C30E European version of the C30 panel, 240 volts, sold in Spain. This one was, and it's pretty tatty. It's seen life, bless it. So this is somewhat broken. That'll be quite fun to repair. It does have the adjustment tool, which I think is wonderful. It's such a wonderful little tool that always used to intrigue me when I was young. This does look as if it has been wet. Maybe, or just very, very dusty, but we'll see. We'll take the top off. It could be a total write-off, or it could be okay. So, let's crack on. And the other interesting thing about this machine is it's got quite a lot of blue ink, paint, something. See that? It's all sort of blue there, not the best. So that'll be fun to get off, tidy it up. This is not going to ever be winner of show, this machine. It's it's quite well worn as well. I don't quite know what's caused that. This screw is being awkward. Feels like it's got a cross thread, maybe. That's fine, but it's a bit odd that it was so tight. So, first impressions, incredibly dusty. There's a spider carcass in there. I don't know what to make of that, because it does look as if it's been damp, but it could just be condensation. But it all looks okay. So I suppose the next thing is power it up. Apparently it does power up, from what I understand. I bought this on eBay from a Spanish seller, and because of Brexit it took about 6 weeks to arrive. It was constantly caught in Brexit type issues. So yeah, 220 volts, lovely. There we go, it's powered up. Very mucky. Okay, so I found the tape. See what happens. Nothing, because I haven't turned it on. So it doesn't want to load. So this sort of reminds me very much of the F1 that we looked at not that long ago, actually. So let's see if that's a malalignment. I tend to feel with these that it's not a bad switch if it gets that far. It's probably more to do with alignment. But why? I don't know. Let's adjust this back up. Right, so that's loading. That's a good start. It's actually quite promising. With an awful lot of love and a heck of a clean-up, this will probably be a pretty good machine. So, next thing, let's power it up. Power up the TV, connect it up, and so mucky. Really, really mucky. Amazingly mucky. So let's see what else is wrong with it. My guess is Hall effect might be a bit of an issue. Let's try wind first of all. That's not too bad, considering. Oh gosh. There's a bit of chatter going on there. Right, okay. Stop! So, the stop button doesn't work very well. Let's give that a little bit of a... It seems fine now, with a bit of use. So we'll change these buttons depending on what we find with the rest of the deck. So we've got a fast capstan. So yeah, capstan's running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's probably what retired this machine. We've had this before as well with one of these series of machines, so hopefully we can get it going. Can be the Hall effects, can be bad caps, although these tend to be fairly reliable. These capstan motors generally are pretty reliable. I have had Hall effects go bad on them. They're the same as the, we use two of the same as the video head motor. Yeah, that's seriously running fast. You can actually hear it running fast. So, bringing you in a bit closer, I press play. It just spills out tape. Running way too fast. So, I've obviously got quite a few issues here. I don't know whether you can see. Tape alignment seems a little bit unhappy as well. And that's running so fast. So that's in pause mode. You can see that. That capstan is running so fast. Oh, I might have done something bad? Yes, I have. I think I've broken the tape, actually. Possibly. Drop the towel. What's happened there? Yeah, I think the tape's broken. So, yeah, that's not good. So I just tried to do a cue, which I thought might just at least give me a chance to check if there's an image. Now I have to say, the solenoid actually doesn't seem terribly tight. It's not clunking, but like doing a nice clean click, clunk when it's activating. Yeah, it's just limp, isn't it? So we have a few fun faults with this. Yeah, so to check the tape. Oh, it's wrapped it around the. Oh dear, it's wrapped it around the capstan. Oh gosh, well and truly, it's actually jammed it. Oh, there we go. Well, the tape's out, but you can see there the tape's actually wrapped around the capstan. So that's good. That's a good start, isn't it? So we have some fun faults with this. Obviously the solenoid is an issue. Fast running capstan. Probably the heads are going to be in a shocking state. Let's check the spools. Spools actually seem quite tight. And the deck seems to be still connected to its plastic posts and assemblies and whatever that sort of are moulded into the metal here. So, what's the idler looking like? Idler looks true. That's good. They do bend, or they can bend with heat. And just the ears, basically, depends how well they're made as well. But this one looks fine. The rest of it is pretty full of dust. I mean, obviously we're going to have to do the caps and the power supply. There's a couple that cause noise at first switch on. Do those as a matter of course. Clean all this up. Try and fix the door. Use switches. So yes, lots of excitement, and yeah, actually quite looking forward to getting stuck in with this. So let's take the bottom cover off. I've disconnected it from the mains, and you can see that blue there. That's that off, and let's move this a bit. Screw missing there, some rust there. You don't see too often on these. Also appears to be, what's that? Some Christmas paper. Sort of folded up and posted in there. How bizarre. Knock this off the hinge. So it's obviously been looked at. Probably one of those things that was taken into a shop and it's contamination. I don't know what that was. Just dropped it as well. So the capstan motor looks okay, and no obvious so just trying to get this tape out. There's tape there, which you probably can't see. There's tape coming off. So I'm just turning this anti-clockwise. Gosh, that sucked in quite a lot of tape, unfortunately, so that's a shame. It's not a special tape, but still it's a broken tape now, so it's not great. So everything looks good on the base. Real table seems good. So I'm just going to lightly put one of these screws back in. The video out looks fine. So I'm going to try another tape just to see what the heads are like, because if the heads aren't good, then that might just change my opinion of this machine, although I do have heads. So this tape is pretty raised and rallied. So again, I'm not too worried about it being damaged. So backup cap's fine because it's still on. So, and the problem with this is, of course, the tape's not tight, so I'm not going to get a good still. Okay, so I've given it a bit of a clean out. It's still not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. Actually took this off and gave it a good wash, just to get it nice. But most of the dust is removed, the vast majority of it, so that's good. And one or two sort of rust spots in places. I'm still not convinced this hasn't been in the damp. Yeah, but anyway, so the first thing we're going to look at is the capstan motor, and I'm lucky insofar as I have this deck. You might remember this from the unboxing video I did. I will get this machine up and running, even though it looks like a complete lost cause. It's still worth doing, mainly because I have all the bits. So yeah, it will be done, but what I'm thinking is this is probably a good capstan motor, so I'm going to take this out, change it over, and well, not change it over, just test it to see what's going on. More than likely what I'll do, if this does work, I'll use this motor, and in another video, when I get this going, we'll get the other capstan motor working, and we'll do all the tests, checks, whatever. So, you can see there on the top left, over there, Sony C80. I actually got it for a pretty good price on eBay. It took forever to arrive because we're in the times of Brexit, and it came from Spain, which is where they seem to have mainly been sold. But it eventually got here. It wasn't that well packed, so the perspex on the top got smashed for the take view window. It's a real shame, but we'll have a look at that. And some springs has dropped out. Something to add to the collection of bits for this machine. Yeah, that'll be in a future video. I'm really looking forward to working on that machine, because essentially it is pretty much a C30, but with an absolutely amazing timer section to it, which I know is totally redundant in this day and age, but it's just very noteworthy because, you know, it's sort of mid-80s and it predates Video Plus. And yeah, it's just an amazing machine. It's got 2 displays as well. The second display is just purely for programming it. And you program it, or you can program it from the remote control. And the remote is just a complete beast of a unit. So it's just absolutely amazing. Ooh. And this one has a broken door. But really looking forward to having a go with that. And but that won't be for a while yet, unfortunately. So I've got lots of other things I want to achieve first. So, bottom cover removed. I just noticed there's a bit of print broken in the corner there. That's going to be interesting. I don't think that's actually too bad. It's an earth, but it is where the earth to the rear sockets goes. So yeah, that'll have to be fixed. Anyway, it's for another video. So let's pull this off. And then there should be three screws, one screw by the adjustment screw, and then I should really be showing you, shouldn't I? So there's one screw here, then a screw here which is there's a spring so to keep it tensioned, and then there is another screw it's also tensioned here. So let's just get that. So is that going to stand? It's really a very bad way to do it. Resting it on the PCB hinges, which is not ideal. And then another spring-loaded screw. Yeah. That should, I believe, just drop out once I've loosened off the screw completely. Okay, so let's give this a go. Now the first thing I'm going to do is load my blank and inverted commas cassette. And you can see how fast that's going. That's really racing. So let's put it to standby. Didn't do that very elegantly, did I? Put this on. Let's see what happens. So this should be much slower if it's not the motor. So now that looks to be going fast as well. So we do actually have a servo board issue. So that's nice to know. At least we know this motor's good. But you can see that's going like the clappers. So we need to now fix the servo board issue. So that we know is good. Yeah, so it's going like the clappers. So, next thing then is, let's have a look at the servo board. So getting this apart, taking the screw out there, and then we still have power on this, so we better just cut the power. Really good at doing that lately, just carrying on working on stuff with it plugged in. Honestly, I suppose you have to admire my enthusiasm. Now I did, just move this up, start removing the blue. There's blue all the way along here. You can see most of it's gone now, but I will clean that up completely. All the blue's gone off here. I think it's printer ink, because even with isopropyl, it just wasn't really shifting. So there's probably been a old printer stored on top of it, and it's basically leaked ink either from its waste tank or otherwise. So we now have the fun job of working out what's wrong with the servo. So yes, let's get that out. thought it was a bit tricky. In fact, what I usually do with this is I take these out as well, just so I can lift the chassis out a little bit. This part of the chassis. And you also need to take out screw for the boards. There we go, so that's free now. So this can lift quite a long way now. And now access. I know you could do it in situ with it from the top, but yeah, oh gosh. That was a bit of a mess. Yeah, so I suppose the next thing is to get a circuit diagram and have a look. How easy is this to prop? It's not that dissimilar to an HF100. This board is very, very similar. I think the main difference is these transistors are mounted on this board, whereas on the HF100 they're on a separate board under the power supply. But otherwise they're fairly, well, almost identical boards. I don't see any Sanyo caps, which are starting to give problems on these later decks now as well. I mean, they've done well. I can't see anything else really that obviously wrong. Oh, there is a Sanyo cap. There we go. There's one. Possibly could be troublesome. But we'll see. We'll see what the voltages are. Need to work out the circuit because I've not actually had servo problems on one of these boards before on a C2030-40. So yeah, it's something a bit new. Exciting. Yeah. So I put the machine on the bench just for easier access, and just sort of familiarising myself with the servo board, because I haven't actually ever had a problem with the C2030 or 40 servo board. I hadn't really realised until I sort of looked at it and went, oh, I don't actually really remember this. Sort of reminiscing about the HF100, and I've had quite a few boards actually go 40, servo boards go 40 in those, but these seem to be pretty solid. So I did some checking, and I'll show you the circuit diagrams shortly. And while I was checking and trying to work out the subtle differences between the two boards, one of them being these are actually the real drive and the capstan motor transistors, I believe, drive transistors. These on an HF100 are actually mounted under the power supply, as I've mentioned before. So that does make the layout a bit different. But I was looking at it, and I don't know whether you can see that, but there's like some white. And the white has actually gone right underneath the connector. And it looks like this 220 6.3 volt capacitor, 220 microfarad that is, of course, has leaked some strange substance onto the board. And I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen that before. You know, you sort of get like brown or sort of crusty deposits from them, or darkening of the board. But this is really quite weird. So my guess is that is what's causing the problem, or at least as part of the problem. I do worry that possibly, because of where it's placed, it might have blown the associated transistor or even the fusible resistor. I don't actually know what happens if the voltages to the servo control are gone. Does it go full speed or does it die? Does it stop? So yeah, so let's have a look at the circuit diagram. Okay, so looking at the circuit diagram, first of all, the differences between the HF100 and the C30. The HF100 main difference is it has this PT7 board, which takes out breaks out rather the two transistors, the ones that run hot, onto a separate board. On the C30, they're built into the board, into the main board. Part number wise, the HF100 is the SS28, and the C30 is the SS16 board. So completely different designations of board. They're not the same, which you'd expect, especially as it has its breakouts. So yeah, so looking at the circuit diagram here, it is a little bit different. Not much, though. I have to say the layout of the transistors and everything else, and the way it works, is pretty much identical. So let's go back to C30 and find where we're at. So I'm assuming all of this is okay, but the capacitor that is sort of effectively leaking white goo is this one here, C321. 220 microfarad, 6.3 volts. And what concerns me a bit is that it's the first, if you like, potential short across to ground of the whole capstan regulation. So I wonder if Q332 might be short. That'd be bad. Maybe even this fusible resistor has popped. But this has to come out. I'd like to think that this has just gone to like pretty much a zero value, and that's what's causing all the problems. That'd be really nice. But the thing is that what happens if this voltage is low? What effect does that have on a capstan motor? Does it make it go fast? Don't know. So yeah, let's dig in and I suppose see what we can find. I mean, we'll change our capacitor first, obviously, but yeah, interesting stuff. Okay, so let's get this cap out. It's this one here, and already have the iron poised. And I just wonder what this will be like to remove, to be honest, because I don't know what chemicals are there. I sort of hope the lead doesn't break off, because I'm desperate to put it on the meter. And whatever chemical is on there is causing it to not want to desolder. A little bit of solder on just to help it on its way. Struggling a bit. Gosh, that's stubborn. I really don't like taking these out like this, but given the circumstances. there's always a risk when you sort of try and yank them out that you'll damage the print. But I think I've got away with it. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, you probably can't see that. It's really weird, the gunk that's come out of that. That leg there. Again, I don't know whether you can see that, but you can see there's sort of like white on the leg, on this leg, and yeah, really weird. Oh, it smells. It's sort of, you can almost taste it. It's a horrible chemical. Probably should have put something on to sort of protect myself from that, so it's not ideal. But yeah, so it's out, so let's test it. So here goes. Well, it actually tests not too bad. That's interesting, even though it's leaky. Having said that, I put quite a bit of heat through it, so it's probably reformed, isn't it? I mean, it was quite warm when I took, when I sort of was holding it and had removed it, so yeah, but it's obviously not well. So yeah, let's replace it, clean up the board. Let's do that now. So it's literally right by the black connector for the capstan, and I'm going to be fairly liberal with my cleaning because obviously it's not. Just give it a clean in the whole areas. I've got some extra isopropyl on there, and then give it the polish. The dry end, fairly mucky, unsurprisingly. I haven't dusted this board out yet either, so yeah, we've got all that to come. I won't show that, it's really boring vacuuming out a machine. So yeah, let's find a new capacitor and get that put in. So I've just cleaned up the pads, which I did off camera, and let's put this 220, slightly separate the legs, 220, this is a 16 volt cap, which should be fine. But obviously, I mean, it's leaked, so it needs to go, and before we do anything else. So let's power it on. Yeah, so it's still running at full speed. So what's interesting, and obviously you can't see this, in Q it does speed up, and it does do the pause in between modes, so that side of it is working. Reverse works. It's just literally playing too fast. Can I record on this? Yes, I can. Yeah, so record as well is running at the same fast speed, which you'd expect, to be fair. But yeah, so we've still got problems. But yeah, that cap obviously wasn't helping things. There's a new cap there, that looks a little tiny one. Not that I have a thing against Sony cabs, but they do tend to cause problems. And it's that, and then that, I believe. Xenodiode behind it. Yeah. No, it's Q345. 332 is that one. Oh yeah, I can see. 332. 5 volts. 8 volts. Wow. 6 volts. So I'm not expecting any of those voltages. No, tell a lie. Yes, no, that's fine. So emitter should be 9 volts. Base should be 6 volts. Okay, so assessing this machine, spent a bit of time working through the servo circuitry, and I even have a transistor removed for testing purposes and see what's going on. And it does seem that we have quite a major fault here with the probably IC301, which is a CX194B. On pin 20 of the chip, which is basically the control voltage for the capstan motor, I have a constant 5 volts, and it's always 5 volts. As soon as I take it out of standby, it's 5 volts. It should be about 2.6 when it's in play mode, and it's just 5 volts all the time, regardless. Gone through the rest of the chip, and everything else checks fine. So I assume in the circuitry that actually regulates the motor speed, there is something wrong, and it's just pushing out 5 volts all the time. Even in Q review, it's 2.6 volts. No, tell a lie, it's not. It should be 2.6 volts in play, and that's it. It's 2.6 volts. Q review is dealt with through a different part of the circuit. So pin 20 is purely playback and record. 2.6 volts. When it's there, it basically is play mode, and anything other than that, it's basically Q. So yeah, with a bit of a heavy heart, I am not going to go any further with this machine. There are quite a few issues with it. I've not even dealt with the other issues with the electronics, and the general condition of the machine is not good as well. But the deck is good. So my thought is to take the deck out of this one and put it into our friend from the unboxing, the black fronted C30. And you can see here that I've already taken out the deck, the old deck. I'd already removed the capstan motor just to test the other machine. The front loading system seems good, which is great. The real plate is really, really good. It's nice and tidy. In fact, the whole machine is really good. It's just literally the deck. And getting it back together, it's missing the IR part as well, which obviously I can take that off the other machine if need be, but I do have one spare anyway, so you know, I don't even have to take the front off, although I do have to take the front off to get the deck out. So yeah, taking the deck out of this took the grand total of about 10 minutes, which is actually really fast. I was sort of dreading doing this, but because I've left the real table, it's a real assembly, it's actually not that bad, because all these connectors go to this board, and you only have one or two others. So ace head, obviously the video heads and the video drum, and the micro switches. So it's not that bad if you can take this off. And this does, like I say, it looks tidy, so I'm happy with that. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is, obviously I've not shown taking this apart, but I am going to show taking the deck out of the other C30. So I'm actually going to save the deck transfer and subsequent getting the other machine up and going for another video. So there will be a part 2. That'll be next Saturday. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, it's turned out to be quite a job, and in many ways, and I hear what you're saying. I bet you're thinking this, watching this, that I should have just scrapped the other machine. It's obvious it's had some water ingress. It's not been submerged, but water's got in through that through the side, and it's gone through on that bottom board, and that's what all that white was. That's actually corrosion from water ingress. So yeah, it's never going to be a good machine. So good call on that one. But of course I was intrigued to see if I could get it going. It was an interesting sort of little investigation. So thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe and like as well, and do leave a comment. If you can avoid saying that I'm mad, but if you do say I'm mad, then that's absolutely cool, because I probably am. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.